Welcome to Driven by Josiah, the podcast that I've decided to start. We can begin by just introducing yourself, whatever details you want to fill in. Go.
All right, I'm Tommy Lemaire. I drift in Quebec, mostly in Formula Drift for the last 2 years. So that was a fun experience. First year with you,
Yeah.
and last year alone. So the only Canadian to do it.
Yes, I definitely had a fear, like the FOMO feeling, fear of missing out the whole season, because I wanted to be there, but then I feel like I did make the right decision in doing like a full season.
Yeah. Just following you on like Instagram and all that stuff, I was looking you have a seat time, and I was like, oh yeah, that's good.
Yeah, so seat time is one thing that I feel like I needed. I was gonna say, to make a driver, I feel like you need three things. You need money, you need seat time, and you need skill.
Yeah.
And I don't think that any one driver has 100% of all three, but it's a matter of what can you do with what you have, right? And how do you make the best of it? So and I'll let you give me your answer, but if I was to like analyze you out of those three, I would say to people, like I say this, I talk like this all the time, like very analytically, but it's like skill, you're very high in skill. And then seat time, you're good because you have the school and you have lots of seat time. So you're doing better than everybody because of the skill and seat time. But then the budget is where it starts to get complicated.
It comes to
So imagine if you were able to get all three to 100%, because the thing is, not everyone can have 100%. Not everyone has the skill. So how do they make up for that? Well, they do more seat time to compensate. Or if somebody has a ton of money, then that makes up for no skill and no seat time, or it makes up for just no skill. So how would you rate yourself?
That would be pretty much it. I would say the skills, it comes with the experience from, like, I was 7 years old in the karting, and I was racing on the racetrack, a road course. So I've done that all my life. So that's something I think I kind of add with the time. But the seat time is something I really work hard on it, because it will be just easy during winter to just stop, relax and wait for the new season to come. But I always go build a ice track, and sometimes it's like minus 30 degrees outside, and like, okay, no, I have to do it. This is almost more like a job, but I'm so passionate about it. So I want to do it. I want to have more seat time. So every time I drive a car, it's for fun, but every time I drive, I try to learn something. I try to analyze my driving, analyze the proximity with the other guy. What can I anticipate the mistakes he's gonna do in front? So that's pretty much something I'm working hard on it. Cause money, on the money side, it's hard.
It's the hardest of the three.
Sometimes. Yeah. I feel like even if I work very hard on the social media, to have more reach and more impression and stuff like this, sometimes I don't really see the results, on the budget side, because the sponsors, even if you have like 1,000 more followers, the sponsors won't be like, okay, yeah, I sponsor you. No, you need more. So this is really my lack, my lack of budget is my weakness.
Yeah, so let's give yourself, on the three categories, say they're graded out of 10. Give me the numbers out of 10.
Well,
what's your skill out of 10? Skill is raw talent, by the way. You said skill comes with experience. Yes, it does. You can probably level 1 or 2 points.
Okay, so I'm going to give you an example to try to put an image on that. When I was like 12 years old, I was racing in karting with Lance Stroll, which is the F1 driver right now, and a Quebec driver. And he had the money. The money, that was not a problem. That was big. But at this age, we had most of the time we had the same tools, and I was able to beat him. Sometimes he won, it was not always me winning, but sometimes I win, sometimes he wins. So that shows me that at 12 years old, when you don't have a lot of experience, I was still able to win against a guy who is in Formula One today. So that being said, I would say probably like 8.5 out of 10.
Yeah, so I would say 8.5 or 9 for sure. So like skill is basically your innate ability to adapt quickly.
Yeah.
If you're able to make a mistake but then not make that mistake again the next time, that's how some people take 4 or 5 runs to adapt.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would agree 100%. Definitely very high on skill. I can't really think of anyone that would be a 10. I find that a lot of drivers that I think about or look up to actually aren't that high on skill. It's like if you were to take someone out of drifting and then apply them to something that they've never done before, like tennis, and see how bad they are, and then see how quickly they learn.
Yeah.
That's like your measurement of skill, bringing someone out of their comfort zone,
exactly,
and challenging them, and how quickly they can learn, and how that's how smart you are. That has a lot of things involved.
It's not just driving; it's like the whole person.
So yes, you're definitely high, and that is something that's extremely important. That's the one thing of the category that you can't change.
Yeah.
Right. So it's important to recognize if a driver has the high skill, the other two can be worked on.
Yeah.
But you can't really work on the skill unless you like overcompensate with experience. So out of 10, what's your experience?
I would give the experience a good 8.5 too, because it's not only drifting, you know, it starts from way earlier when I was a kid, like a young kid, like 10 years old. At this age, I was already learning to manage my stress, you know, to manage the pressure, to have people that was supporting me. So I knew they were looking at me, and I had to perform, and all that stuff. I learned it very young. So today it's something natural, you know. So it's not natural, but it's something that I learned to work on, and I learned to live with it, the pressure, and you know, all that stuff. And I think that's something that makes the big difference. Because when I started competing in drifting at 17 years old, and my first competition, I was like, oh, okay, I have to. I was scared because I thought I was too close to the guy, you know, in chase. But finally, I was maybe 2 car far. But I realized after that that's something I had to work on. But I was not stressed. You know, there was a lot of pressure, but I didn't feel that because I already learned to overcome, like to be better than that at a young age. So I think that like this is a big advantage for me. The stress, even if there's a lot of people, I mean, I'm here to do it, and I know I already did it in the past. You know, I went in Europe for the World Championship. So the guy beside me, he was a champion of his country. I was the Canadian champion, and on the other side, it was the other champion. So being surrounded by people that are better than you, that's something that helps me a lot. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, 8.5 out of 10, 8.5 out of 10. And then where are you financially out of 10?
So to be able to compete, I mean, I will say maybe like 6. But to be able to like going in Pro 1 or just keep going in Pro Spec, because this year I won't do Pro Spec because of the budget, I would say maybe 4. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a pretty accurate evaluation. Pretty much I would have said very similar numbers.
Yeah.
So the budget, I would say this is where people are also going to be at different levels as well, because they're going to see, oh, like DMCC is no problem for you. Like you have this car, then you have like other seat time cars. And so to some people, you might have an 8 in budget, but in perspective to what is at Pro 1, the highest level, we're low.
Oh yeah. Like, yeah, even for Pro 1, I would say 3. Like
yeah, so you have to be like relative to what you're trying to achieve. If you're trying to achieve grassroots or low tier competitions, you're going to have guys in those categories that have all the money they need to compete at that level. No dog box, no quick change.
Yeah.
500 horsepower and they're killing everybody.
Yeah.
Like, like if I wish I could have 500 horsepower with a decent transmission and extra axles.
Yeah.
So, but then in our perspective, it's like, yeah, to go into Pro 1, I couldn't justify the cost. Like I'm not above a 5. So yeah, I would say you're like 3, maybe 4.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting like just below 5, and I'm like, I would need to obtain a title sponsor to make it. So, and then the evaluation for the numbers, I mean, I would probably put myself pretty high skill.
Yeah.
But then seat time is very low. I definitely am unable to get the seat time that's required because of kids, because of business, because of everything. So I compensate for my ability to learn within 4 to 5 laps how to get through, how to make it by. And it's definitely not as refined as I want it to be. It's not as good as I want it to be.
But that's the thing. Like, if you want to be better with the seat time, you're gonna have to like reduce the money, because you will have to work less. And if you work less, you're gonna make less money. You see, so you're gonna have to like.
That's what I mean.
Lose somewhere, yeah.
Balancing out, because when I was a kid, I didn't start drifting until 2018.
Yeah.
So like you were competing before I started drifting.
Yeah.
And the whole reason was because my adult, like teenage life was sports, like basketball and track and field. And that's like, I thought I was going somewhere with that stuff. Now, that stuff gave me a perspective of like, I'm good at sports. I'm good at being coordinated. I'm like that. You need that for driving as well.
As a natural side.
Yes. Like I can pick up any new sport and I'm just going to be good at it no matter what. Like you need that with driving, 100%. There are drivers that have so high experience that it compensates for their like 5 skill, right? And you're like, man, how is this guy doing that when he's just like, he can't even catch a ball if I throw it to him. Anyways, they have money and experience. It makes up. It makes up for this. Like they're in drift schools, they're driving every weekend. Their parents are just paying for everything. They got the toter home. Their parents are almost making them go to these things. They probably would just be stuck in bed.
And we know them. We're surrounded by them. So
they're everywhere in the U.S.
Yeah, beside them at the racetrack, we're like, oh my God, that's crazy.
Yeah. So it's like, how do we get to the point where we are able to identify the weakness and then somehow surround ourselves with the right people to focus on solving that? So, I mean, I'm going to try a bunch of different things this year. This year's like a big trial year with the car. I think one of the most important things is if you can increase budget through sponsors, then you can increase seat time because you're going to reduce what you can bring in income, just like you said. So, yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Everything that you said, I was like, yep, 8.5 to 9, 8.5 to 9. And then financially, depending on what you're looking at, DMCC, you're probably like doing okay.
Yeah, but it's not that hard for DMCC, but still. But for the seat time, I find it that people always say, "Oh my God, you have so many seat time. It's easy. You have the drift school and everything." But the reality at the end is, at the drift school, like. I teach the guy to drift, so I'm on the passenger side, and I never drive during a drifting day at the academy. So sometimes people are like, "Oh, that's easy because that's what you do," but you still have to work a lot to do it, because during winter it's on ice, but during the summer at the academy I don't really drift. And a couple of years ago I was in charge of the racetrack at ICAR, so the drift track at ICAR. So I was managing the drift nights and the drift days and all that stuff. So people were like always seeing me at the racetrack, like, "Oh, you're always there." Of course, I'm the one who send the people to drift and everything, but I was never drifting my car, So everybody is always like, you have so much seat time. But the truth is, if you ask me just for seat time, I would say like that I need to improve that. Even if, unlike if I compare to you, I have more seat time for sure. But I still think that I will need like to double my seat time.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. I think Chelsea was the one that said that he makes sure that he drives every weekend, no matter what. Yeah. Whether it's in a the pro level car or one of the demo cars or in his Fox body. Like it's just mandatory that he does that. And I think that's probably the most important thing that we could do ever. So
just like Frederick Asbo, you know, he's
always
he's always driving, and during the winter it's always on ice with the Supras. And I was watching this on YouTube, and I was
can't
like,
beat him if he does that.
Crazy. So that's why I wanted to do this.
Mm-hmm.
So 2 years ago, that's how I started drifting on ice. I was like, oh, I have access to lake. I have access to this. I'm gonna try it.
Yeah.
And that's because of him that now I'm like so deep into ice drifting.
That year, 2 years ago, was great.
Yeah.
Like we were at you came to the one.
Yeah.
That was near the end where like it was starting to warm up, but we were there twice a month, and that was super important. Like I had all sorts of deficiencies from bad habits and not having enough seat time that I was able to, because you can just do 6 hours straight.
Yeah, exactly.
It's slow,
just gas.
But yeah, you can control you can do hand braking for one whole lap, then you can do foot braking for one whole lap, then you can do no hands for one whole lap, then you can do the whole thing. Like you can understand the dynamics of a car and how it's going to behave, feel the front end understeer. Then we were playing with studded tires, and then I never tried the ones that you had, but then that's like pavement or better.
Yeah, the one that I brought, it was faster than pavement.
Yeah.
It was crazy. So that's something I also tried a lot of tires. I wanted, to be fast, to be a bit slower, to have time to learn and everything. And I think the best way was the MF44, the studs on tires. That was just like on wet asphalt in the summer, and that was perfect to learn. You don't break the car because it's not too aggressive. You have time to go and chase your friend. So this winter I wanted to do this, but the weather was so bad. I had to do it on a like track that we built on dirt because the ice was not thick enough.
Yeah. I agree. It's definitely something that we have to focus on if we're going to be going anywhere with the sport. So aside from drifting, what is something that I know that we don't have to go into detail, but like what you do, we're going to keep it about our passions and all these other things. But like you told me earlier at the shop, you get up at 5:30. What gets you up at 5:30? Is it just work?
I think it's the habit. Yeah, because if I wake up like later, I feel like I lost the day. Yeah, it's too late. Like,
it's a different mentality for sure.
Yeah,
it's rare to find people like-minded like that. Like it's definitely something that's not common to interact with someone that feels the same way. Because if some people that I know they're sleeping until 10 or 11, I'm like,
man,
I'm like.
I gotta say, it's probably, it's an habit for sure, but it started like with school. Because, with school, I did my school until university in marketing, and I wanted to succeed in that. I wanted to do it right, so I always had to wake up very early in the morning. And since I'm done with school, I was like, well, it's the same in life. Like, I have to wake up early, and now I don't put alarm, and I'm gonna be awake at like maximum 6. And with my alarm at 5:30, and always like that. During the weekends, 7. At 7, I'm up. I have to, because like even in the weekend, like people like us, it's nonstop. The social media, the sponsors, the managing the car. You with the business, it's even bigger. But just make sure that the car is going to be ready. The new rig, the new trailer, everything. Especially now, because we're starting the season. This is a crazy time of the year.
Yeah, it's the busiest year for our company too, March every year. So a lot of people talk about how they get motivated. They talk about motivation being so important. But I've always thought motivation has nothing to do with it. It doesn't. If like every morning, you're not motivated every morning.
No.
You just it's almost better if you're not motivated and you do it anyways.
You just do it, yeah.
Because that's way harder to do. Like if, let's say you have, for racing, for us, and I'll use a different example for somebody else, but for us, if it's race day, it's no problem to wake up, right?
Yeah.
The motivation's there, the goals for the day are there. Everything is laid out for us to get up and get at it as soon as possible. But then that's hard to find every day. Really hard. Some days it's impossible. Like every morning I'm getting my kids up and getting them ready for school, and I'm just like, it's crazy difficult to do.
Yeah.
But then for other people, maybe it's like they're going to Canada's Wonderland that day, so they have all the reasons to get up and then go do that. But then for their own goals and themselves, they just don't get out of bed and they just stay there. And for me, I'm just like, time is so limited.
Yeah, exactly.
If I'm not doing something, like fixing something on the house on a weekend, or I have to be doing something, or else I feel like I'm wasting space.
Oh, yeah. Wasting space and time. Oh, yeah.
So it's just really difficult to relate with other people, especially getting older and being what I'm trying to do now, and some people just don't understand what I'm doing and what I'm trying to do.
But that's why we really have to surround us with people like us, you know. And I'm not just talking about racing people. I'm talking about people with this minding, with this attitude. And you know, earlier I was talking about if you're surrounded by better drivers than you, you're gonna become a better driver. It's the same. It's the same in life, I think. You know, if like all my friends always party and I always do stuff like this, at the end I want to do it too, you know. But if all my friends are working with their own job and their parents and their stuff like this and their passions, I want to do the same, you know. And at the end, that's what we do. That's why now I have most of my friends in drifting and most of my friends that have business, and I want to help them. They want to help me. It's really the people you're surrounded by.
Yeah, the people you're surrounded by change your perspective, and perspective is what's going to give you something to compare your own life to. So if you don't have a good perspective, you're not going to be much outside of whatever that is. So yeah, if you have really successful people around you, it'll make you feel bad about yourself. It'll change your perspective.
But it's gonna kick you.
And then we went to Guatemala, and my parents brought all my other siblings to Haiti and stuff. That gives you perspective on how good it is here, so that you know that I have nothing to complain about. So perspective on both ends is kind of like what's led us to this point of, you know, you've had your dad, you've had lots of other people around you, I'm sure, and then you've had to cut out other people that may not have been up to par. They might have been bringing you down, things like that. It's hard to do, but it's just necessary, and there's just not enough time.
Yeah, and that's why you also always have to stay focused, because the people that you just said that they're going to bring you down, it's easy to let yourself go down. So that's why I think focus is something very important. Also in drifting, you know, it's one of the most important thing. Always be focused, and because, you know, sometimes people get too stressed out and they just see themselves, oh, what happened if I crash? Oh, what happened if I'm too close to the guy? Oh, what happened if that's one thing I have. I'm always, what happened if my car breaks? What happened if the engine breaks? Oh, what happened if I lose power steering? Oh my god. And sometimes this gets to my head, but I'm like, no, you have to stay focused. Even if you don't have power steering, you have to do it. Stay focused. So yeah.
It's the saying of like, everything's going to be fine, even if it's not going to be fine. Worry about it when it isn't fine. It's kind of confusing to think of, but
overthinker.
It's like you must think that everything is fine, even if it's not. And that's important for performance, for your mindset. And I have the same thing. Like there's a bunch of different tactics that I've had to do with my lack of experience to make sure that a run goes as the way I want it to. And one of the things that I had to do was before leaving the line, I had to like mentally say the zone, the inner clip, the next zone, and then I had to like tell myself where I'm looking at each point. And if I remember to do that, it's going to be a great run. If I am like in my head and I forget, I don't even remember where the inner clip was. And then they're like, that was a pretty sick run, but you were like 10 feet off the inner clip. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't even remember seeing the inner clip.
Yeah.
So it's really important to not be in your mind like that. So let's keep it on drift. By the way, Driven by Josiah, I chose the name because you can be driven by Josiah and follow my driving and racing and stuff, but then you could also have like motivational business, others.
Yeah.
Driven by Josiah. So it's
You-
two different meanings.
You thought about it, huh?
I did, and then I did a poll on Instagram, and most people didn't understand what I was trying to do. But my audience, like if I just did a drifting audience for this podcast, that's like 0.1% of the world.
Yeah.
If I do, if I have people on here that they don't drift at all, I don't even know them other than they're in business or something.
Yeah.
That's just going to cater to an audience that is 99% of the people instead of like I want to have girls on, I want to have entrepreneurs on, I want to have like people that
Exactly.
are not just drifting. But obviously there's lots. I think drifting's crazy because most people are entrepreneurs that are
Well, you don't have choice. Even if you don't have a business, if you're a drifter and you're competing, you are an entrepreneur.
oh yeah, you have to be.
Yeah, you have to manage your car, your team, your sponsors,
I agree.
everything like that. Yeah.
It takes a certain kind of person to, without having money from their parents, to compete in drifting.
Yeah.
And then once you get to the FD level, you start seeing we're all the same, pretty much.
Yeah.
Like different walks of life, different types of businesses, but everyone there has a hustle of their own. It's the only way they got there.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Which is what I really like about FD. I found that outside of drifting, it was like a really good time with high quality people all around. That's that's something that I missed for sure about that environment.
Yeah.
The professionalism and how well what you were expected to do when you were there. It was all very, although I said as a joke, if you just wear a race suit, you could probably get in anywhere.
Yeah.
So I was like, Ethan, you don't have a pass, but just bring your race suit.
Yeah, exactly.
Wear this one, and you can go anywhere you want.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that was a crazy experience. Like, sometimes I just try to remember, okay, at this track, what happened, and I'm like, oh my god, that's crazy. And we're a very small amount of people that lived this, and I realize it, and I'm like, oh wow, that's really cool. I have to be grateful about this because like I want it to happen again, but we never know what can happen. So if I lose a big sponsor, my title sponsor, or anything like this, maybe it's gonna be the end. So yeah, I always want to. Sorry.
That's fine.
I always want to make sure that I'm grateful about it.
So you said that you'd like to experience it again. With saying that, does that mean that is that a goal to go there again? Are you going to actively put a plan together to get there?
Yeah. Yeah. So
what's the plan?
So for 2023, the goal is really just to a bit like you did last year. Because honestly, what you did last year, I was like, okay, yeah, that you need some balls to do this. To be like, okay, I will stop FD. I will get more seat time. I will get more experience, bigger tires, more tracks. Different tracks. And after, I'll come back stronger. And this year, I don't really have the choice because of the budget. But I'm still like, okay, that's an opportunity. I have to take it. So I really want to drive as much as possible. So I'll come back in DMCC in Canada, which is the first championship I did in 2017. But I also want to do the Gambler and the Riverside, which is a championship that I think is going to be great because there is good prizes, which is going to bring good drivers. So I don't want to do something that I will win for sure. I want to do something that is going to challenge me. It's going to challenge me with different drivers that sometimes maybe have less budget, so smaller cars, but more talents, with different scale of talented people. And that's going to be great for me this year. So yeah, this year I want to try to, just get behind the wheel as much as possible, even if it's close to the house. So it's less money thrown in the window. But yeah, 2024, I want it to be the year I go back in FD, and I want it to be the year I don't have any issues with the car, and I can do what I want to do. I can succeed. Because last year it was
Painful almost.
I won't say a waste of time, but it was painful for sure. It was painful to be like, my God, I could just bring my 350Z with like 300 horsepower, and that would have been better than my competition car. Like, my God.
Yeah. That is yeah, and then not having the ability to control the situation.
Yeah.
If I like one of the things that I have sacrificed within business is not allowing my company and my products to be dictated by somebody else's quality or control. That's why I have my own machines. That's why we build everything ourselves. It comes at a cost, though. It's much harder to do it this way. I could easily just send my drawings to a shop or overseas or whatever.
Yeah, but you depend on yourself, not on somebody else.
So you took a risk and you depended on having everything taken care of, and ultimately with like the car not being around you all the time, you couldn't even work on it if you wanted to, and that it definitely is a mistake worth learning. It's going to be an experience that you needed to have.
Yeah, I had to live it. If I didn't do it, maybe today would be like, maybe I should try it, because maybe that's the solution to going Pro 1 one day.
So basically, I think of life as a GPS, but the screen's broken. Okay, you can't see. So what do you do if you have a GPS and your screen's broken, but you need to get to where you're going? What do? Well, you need to start driving, right?
Yeah.
You can't just sit there.
No.
So you start driving and you go down roads that you can't see.
Yeah.
So that road didn't work. You have to turn around and go back.
Yeah.
But at least you know that isn't the right road. Otherwise, they all could be the right road. They all could be the wrong road. You have no idea. And you're just like guessing. But guessing is better than not moving at all. So you found out that you're going to cross that road off and you're never going to go down that one again. But now you're one road closer to the right road that you need to go down. I don't know where you're going. Let's say you're going to your goal or whatever it is that you're trying to get to.
Let's say FD.
Sure, if FD is here and you have to try all these different side streets, roads, maybe there's a shortcut, maybe there's one that you need to try, but you got to go for all of them, basically. And that takes a lot of time. That takes a lot
money.
And discipline. Like, you're not going to be motivated to do this every day.
Yeah, exact. Sometimes it's just like, oh my God, it will be so easier to just do it in, like, drift in Quebec. Drifting at, like, an hour from my house, that would be easy, But
the worst fear that I would have is if when I die or when I'm old enough to not be able to do anything anymore, if someone then showed me everything that I could have done. That's probably the worst thing.
Oh, yeah.
That you can think of. So you want to rest easy knowing that you did try, and that like this podcast might fail. But
at least you'll do it.
When I'm 40, 50, 60 years old and my kids are like of an age where they're adults and I can talk to them, I can say I tried podcast, I did this, I did this.
Yeah.
Failed or not, I checked it off my list, and my GPS, although the screen's broken, I almost have it fully mapped out. I almost know exactly where I have to go. So the people that are just sitting there parked, I don't have time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Like, why are you not moving?
Exactly. I don't know if this is how we say it in English, but in French we say it's better to have remorse than regrets. I don't know if remorse, that's probably not the right connection.
That's right. Yeah, it's better. We have other sayings. I think one that's similar to that is better to ask forgiveness than permission.
Yeah.
So like that one. my older brother would use that one with my parents because he didn't have the little voice on his shoulder that told him not to do something. Yeah. So then he would do it anyways, and then he would ask for forgiveness.
Yeah, exactly.
Because they would have said no.
Yeah,
right. So to go to FD, you need to basically establish that I don't think the seat time is really the issue. It is just finding out how to get a budget. And if we if I did a podcast where we just had our computers and tried to figure out how to do it, I'd be happy to show everyone if I came up with the answer. But it's not easy.
No.
Social media is extremely important nowadays,
Yeah.
and it's kind of harder to build. But we're in a weird window right now where Reels and like Instagram and Facebook are trying to compete with TikTok, and it's kind of a window that's allowing you to grow again.
Yeah.
So I remember like last year and the year before, my pages had no gain in following, and it was very difficult to get anyone to follow your account.
Mm-hmm.
We're in a weird spot now where your content can be shown to everybody, and it won't be filtered. It won't be knocked down. The algorithm is working in your favor. So do you plan on trying to attack that yourself? Do you plan on getting someone to help you achieve that? Because I know that you had a couple reels where you were like someone was tapping your car, ice drifting, and it blew up.
4 million
4 million views,
like 500,000 likes. But
and how many followers did you gain from that? A few thousand or something?
2,000 or 3,000 followers just with one video made with my phone.
Exactly. No, phones, we have found that phones work way better than cameras.
Yeah.
Every time. The algorithm knows they want more individual content and less like professional cinematic content. Yeah. So if you have an iPhone 13 or 14 like Pro, you're good.
Yeah.
You're good to go. But do you have any plans to try and the hard thing that about building the following is you have to be different somehow.
Yeah. So, just taking you as a reference, you're very very great at developing new parts, and you have a knowledge, very, very, very good knowledge, So I was like, I don't have this knowledge. So what do I have?
Exactly.
I'm a good driver, and I have my drift academy. So I was like, well, and I'm a bit shy. You can't be shy in this world, but I'm a bit shy to show my face to the camera and to be like, hey guys, what's up? It starts from far where we're like he's trying to get attention, but this is what we have to do in drifting. We have to get attention. So I thought about it, and I was like, maybe what I'm gonna try this year is to film most of my inboard driving, and just voice over and describe what I do and the mistakes and the pros and cons of what I do when I'm in lead, when I'm in chase, when I'm in qualification. And I think maybe this is something I will be more good with it, because if I just take my video and I describe it and I try to help people to get better at driving, well, the people that doesn't know drifting, they're gonna look at this and they're gonna be like, that's cool. That's a guy in a race car. And the people that knows drifting, they're gonna be like, oh, okay, I'm learning something. And this is basically what you're doing right now with your FDF products. You're just showing people new stuff, and I am learning every day when I see your videos. Mm-hmm. I'm not just laughing, like most of videos. I'm like, oh wow, I'm learning. So maybe my strength is driving, and where you can improve, and where a bit like Chelston Offa did. Chelston Offa, he was reviewing his own driving at Formula Drift.
Yeah.
I want maybe to try this, but more less details. Because he was really deep in details. He was rewinding and everything. I just want to do like a 15 seconds of my run and maybe describe it. So I don't know. Maybe as we said, it's gonna fail. Maybe it's gonna be good. But
yeah. And the thing about failing and if it succeeds or not, the effort has to be 100%, and then it has to be for a specific amount of time. So if it fails the first time, that can't be when you stop.
Yeah.
Mr. Beast says on a YouTube channel, if you haven't posted 100 videos yet, don't even say that you've tried YouTube. Like, you have to have done 100 and gone through the grind of getting 200 views on your videos. And once you've gone through that, so we're still 2.5 years in on our channel, and we're just starting to see revenue. We're getting like 80,000 views a month. and we're starting to see a lot of growth, but this is 2.5 years of grinding and not succeeding.
Yeah.
So I would say with your video idea, excellent idea, by the way, because I've watched your videos before. It was when we were in FD, you posted an in-car, and I'm like, I wonder if we're doing the same thing. The only thing I noticed is that your steering wheel is tiny compared to mine. It's so small.
Yeah.
I'm like, duh, no wonder he has issues with his power steering. His wheels over this.
Come on.
It must spin much faster or something. But aside from your
Just
small
have to
steering
move
wheel,
less. You just have to move less. You know, my goal is just to be in the car and let the car drive by itself. Instead of driven by Josiah.
Well, you're running my kit. You're running my kit on the front, so
exactly.
Whatever.
And the rear. So
yes,
that's why it's a bit easier. But you know, it's the goal. So that's why I want a small steering wheel. I want the handbrake close. I want everything close. I want to like less effort, maximum.
Yeah.
result.
So I've watched your video. I think it was like New Jersey or something. I was like, oh, I wonder how his entry is, or I wonder how, like, what he's doing. And I try to see your feed as well.
Yeah.
Because coming from, I don't have the experience, so maybe I'm doing something stupid that you wouldn't be doing.
Yeah.
Usually I was pretty in line with what you were doing, but then I would notice that you wouldn't handbrake in certain areas, and then I would, just because I watched your video, I would try not doing that.
Yeah.
And it would either work really well for me or wouldn't. I think you were handbraking through the inner clip at Irwindale, or maybe just one of the videos I saw you try it.
The inner clip, no handbrake.
No handbrake. Somebody did it there, and I was like,
Not.
no, I never handbraked there. But I remember seeing somebody do it, and I was like, I'm not even going to try that. I don't think that's the right way to do that at all. But no, you were always like, no handbrake. Like, you used it.
The angle
Chase,
to reduce
sure.
speed.
Lots of chase. Although I do remember telling you multiple times in Irwindale, you need to handbrake only in chase. Do you remember this at Irwindale?
Well, I remember.
And then you left-footed so
yeah,
hard
exact.
that you just went straight.
Yeah, that I
like,
remember.
I was like, I told you, you have to only handbrake.
Yeah.
And the car's going to go like this, and it's not going to look very
Yeah.
good, but they're so slow.
Man, I was like 4 seconds faster
Us at that
a
track.
lap.
Yeah, you were super fast. I was super fast. And I'm like, we are going to have a hard time. Like Dimitri and Novak, like they were all 2-3 seconds slower than we were. But obviously they won, we didn't. So what's the point?
Yeah.
Right? Because what they were able to do was transition to being able to chase fast cars, but then their leads were slow, controlled, lots of left foot in the bank.
But
high
man,
line.
that's not my style. It's
not
hard.
my style,
It's a bit like telling Chelsea Nofa, you have to go easy and not throw the car as like a crazy. He's gonna be like, no, I prefer to stay in the pits. You know, I want to do it my style. So if you tell me, oh, loosen up the car, so you're gonna look like, you know, you're dancing on ice. Meh.
Horrible, man. I can't do it. I'm like, man, I am a ripper. Like, I like being a ripper, and I love going fast. Like, the car can't go any faster. That's where I want it to be. Like, the entry is going to have to be, and the worst thing someone could say to me is, you didn't go fast enough. Like, that's not what I want somebody to say to me. So if they do, I'm like, I'm going to go so fast that you will never say that again.
Yeah.
So that's like what my mentality is. And that's the kind of mentality that, although I placed top 8, you were 4th in the first year?
Third
First year.
Third.
I think my best finish was 4th at New Jersey.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that the driving style is much more transferable to Pro 1 than the slower one. So if your style is slow, you can get away with that on the 255 Pro Spec tire. But if your style is like ours, where like this whole year I ran 285 SS 240 tires, I'm trying to, this car, they're like, everyone's trying to level up to compete with the car that I'm running.
Yeah.
And I can take that car and go to Pro 1, and now I'll be maybe close.
Yeah.
I'll be closer. Like, they're still going to be faster probably because they've been in that realm of big tires and fast cars the whole time. But at least I'll have a closer and better entry. and we'll be able to compete.
It's gonna be way easier to adapt because right now the slow style, it's gonna be impossible to adapt if you go in pro and after. And like a couple of years ago, back in the DMCC in Canada, like it was better to be fast but no angle. But once I went in FD, I saw what the judge wanted, and they wanted fully committed, and they preferred like not in the door but more angle, mimic the angle and all that stuff. And I was like, all right, I'm gonna adapt. I'm gonna change my style, and now this is the style that the judges want to see. So of course, this is what I do. This is what I prefer to do now because this is what they want to see. They want to see you like fully committed. In the Arundel, I qualified first with 94 points.
Out of Pro 1 and Pro Spec. You had the highest score.
I had the same score of Asbo.
Yeah.
I qualified first. So I think. So yeah, it was fully committed, like pinned to the floor and banging the rev limiter. And I was like, all right, that's good. Like we found a good setup, and
your car was so solid the first year when you and I like your car was like you had a couple things where I saw a bunch of guys running to your car to like tune something, but like that thing was solid. Like both of our cars, other than my wiring issue at St. Louis, it was like these Canadians basically are like two crazy rippers, big V8s, both FDF cars, fastest on grid usually. Like there wasn't too many guys as fast. Like I know Mata was pretty fast. I know Madison was pretty fast.
Yeah, Madison was fast.
But like we were the rippers of the group. I just couldn't get, like I was very inexperienced to be in Pro Spec, and I was just making it through because I was able to adapt quickly. But like I look back at some of the videos because like Jack did a video on all of my rounds. I'm like, I'm so much better at driving now, just a year later.
Oh, yeah. 100%.
It's crazy that all I need is seat time. I think that I'll solve so many problems just by continuing to drive, and just never stop. I have a sim in the basement. It's horrible at replicating a car. So there's one thing, I don't spin out very often, if ever. Like I'll go a whole year without spinning out. And if
Maybe
I do...
that's because you don't push enough.
It's because my angle is like this one.
You drive an FDF. I
mean, so there was a point even at Riverside where they still gave me a score, but I angled up so much. They were like, he zeroed, and I didn't. And they were like, what? How did he not zero that? And it's just because I just have that like control over the car that I can go to like 90, scrub the whole front, but I'll still be able to bring it back.
Yeah.
I spin out all the time on this stupid sim. This stupid sim. I just spin out all the time, and I'm like, this is not how the car behaves. So I need somebody to like set it up and mimic it better.
Yeah,
I don't think my wheel returns fast enough.
Yeah, the feedback is bad. That's something people ask me often. Like, do you ride the simulator? And the fact that I'm a driver who starts at a young age on a real kart, on a real racetrack, it's kind of impossible for me now to drive a simulator because I feel the track with the butt.
100%.
And the sim, it's visual, and it's the memory. Like you have to see your points on your reference points on the track. But when I drift my car,
you're bad at sim.
Huh?
So you're bad at sim.
Oh yeah, I'm bad at sim. I'm bad at sim. Yeah. I'll say it. Like I've tried very good sims with the actuators and like $25,000 sims, and I can drift, but I will not do a tandem. Oh no, I'm not that. I'm not there yet.
That's funny. So the experience is ingrained, like to respond based on grip in your body.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Feeling the inertia and the G's and everything. Yeah. And that's how you respond. I mean, that's how, like, I learned in drifting with my brother's car with no angle at Shannonville. And, like, you learn where the car spins out, and then you try to control the car before that happens. And you can feel it. You can feel it over-rotate. It starts to, like, you feel all of this.
Yeah.
And in sim, none of it's there. So it's way more visual. I think that it helps a lot with, it was helpful for me, because I didn't have the experience with just footwork and going between the clutch, back to the brake, back to this, doing all of that movement. That was able to just make that something that I never had to think about again. So it's been a couple of years and I don't need to think about what my feet are doing.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's like going into Pro Spec, I had never really run a bank before.
Oh, no.
It's like Florida was like the first time.
Wow.
And I feel like I did my first lap, it was horrible. I was like, I suck. And then my second one,
Okay.
I think my tires were slightly scrubbed and I ran the wall the whole way.
Nice.
And I was like, that was my second run. But the tires were scrubbed. So then when I put another new fresh set on, it was low again. And I'm like, okay, so what do I got to do? And I remember watching you. You were just like, no handbrake, big flick. I'm like, okay, so I can do that.
Yeah.
And then it was basically I was trying to determine, can I go full throttle? Is the run up the right distance? And then when I realized it is.
You don't have choice. Honestly,
a bank you can do full throttle no matter what.
Any track, you have to be full throttle until you pull the brake. You can't just like reduce the speed. Like if you're too fast, you just e-brake earlier. You flick earlier. So
these are all things that you knew and I was learning. Like literally like third run, I'm changing. Like you're probably changing one or two things. I'm changing like 8 things. Like 8 things I have to adapt to and fix. And then once I cross off 5 out of 8, I'm like, okay, I still need to work on the other 3. And I work on that, and I loved it. It was amazing. And then I won my first battle, and then I had a really close battle with Dimitri, and I was like, that was a great first. Yeah. That was a great first outing. I'm like, I feel so much better about being able to do this because there's nothing better. Like people won't understand this. There's not a whole lot of things that are better than running a wall and seeing the wall through your door.
And knowing that you're at 1 inch or in the wall or 3 inch, that's really cool. Like there's a track in Quebec, it's Vallée Jonction, and there's a green wall, and the wall at in the middle of the bank, the wall stops, and it's just air. So sometimes I can feel that I'm touching the wall, and once I'm out of the wall, I can feel the car just going like 3 inches more wide because there is no compression with the air, It's crazy. This is cool. This is awesome.
It is. And then seeing if there's banners, you can see the banners going by. And if you, like I got really good with that in Clutch Kickers, the one layout that I podiumed in. Like I just wasn't even thinking. I probably did 18 to 20 laps and I had this car just like... I could do anything. I could go as fast as this car is physically capable of. I had the pressure dropped all the way down, and I'm just like throwing it into the wall as hard as I can and just running the wall every time, and there's nothing better. There's no better feeling than that. It's worth all the tires. It's worth all the time. It's worth all the stuff. So I can't wait to get to the point where that is just like a normal, like you're that good where you show up to the track and that's the way it is. Okay, so we need to... I'm fine with staying on the drifting topic. I'm pretty sure anyone that listens to this episode is going to be like, we want to hear about all this stuff. So that's totally cool. How do you think that you're going to overcome we talked about social media. How are you going to overcome the financial rating? We need to get your 5 or 4 out of 10 to a 7 or 8 out of 10. Yeah. The way I want to do FD is comfortably.
Yeah.
With employees that are paid well. Yeah. With friends that are coming and they're being, I'm paying them well, and we can stay comfortably, have good sleep.
Yeah. Not always feeling bad because you're like,
I always feel bad.
I could have have a better hotel and better food, and you're just like, man, it's too expensive.
So, like, I have an idea of what my plan is. I told you I'm going to hire a manager that. Hopefully pays for itself. Yeah. But have you put any thought into...
Well, on what you're saying right now, before I was drifting, I was racing in karting, and after road racing for another 2 years and a little bit of dirt track. So I tried in the past to contact like a manager. And there's a guy, Sébastien Toutan. He's like X-Game champion in snowboard. He's like very, very good, and I knew him, so I asked him like, who is his agent? So I contact her, and the thing she told me, it's like, it's hard. She said like, honestly, she said, you're gonna have more chance than me to find sponsors because you talk about drifting and you have stars in the eyes and you know you're passionate about it. And she said like, the chance that I'm gonna find something, it's thin. So I was like, oh, okay, okay, I understand. But on your side, you have the business which is directly related to drifting and the world, selling and all that stuff. So you have like you're in the good position. But even if I'm like, okay, I want to do it, I don't even think that will be the solution for me because it's a small market. That's what she said. She said, "What is drifting?" I was like, "Oh, okay, I'm gonna explain it to you." But she's like,
not
yeah,
a good start.
Yeah, it's not a good start. She's like, yeah, you know you burn tires, you burn gas, and then when we gonna see the companies, they're gonna say that. So I was like, okay, it's hard. We're in the market that is very small. So yeah, I think it's going to be good for you to try, but that's not something. I'm not big enough. I'm not big enough yet to do this. You know?
So you're feeling a little defeated in this
before I start. I know but yeah, kind of. I'm more realistic than like I dream about it. So what I think I'm going to try to do is just win as much as I can this year. So I'm going to have something solid to show to the people that can support me, and I'm gonna try more than not enough, you know. So this year I have a new title sponsor, which is XPN, and it's a local company in Canada, and they do stuff for gym, you know, so proteins and stuff like this. They are not related.
Muscle and
yeah, I mean, like I have to work on this. So you see, they are not related to drift, but it's a company that I tried on maybe like 50, 60 companies that I tried. So I have to try. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to knock to a lot of doors, not only in drifting, just doors that can bring financial support. And we'll see where it goes from there. And my dream will be to like team up with somebody like you know, but not anybody. Like that's something I learned a little bit. So something like you, because we have the same vision, and that's something I think it's important. A bit like when you start a business, you don't want to start a business with somebody that is not like you. Because if you're just friend and you start a business with him, when it's starting to get complicated, you're like, oh, okay, we don't think the same way. So I think having a team, you can bring something, you can be stronger together, but you have to make sure that it's going to work first.
Yeah, the vision that I have for drifting as at a professional level would be partnering with, I think ultimately it would probably be partnering with you, and how that works and how that makes sense being Canadian is important. I wanted that to be something that is we take pride in.
Yeah,
because
we have to.
Yeah, it's all we got. That's all we got. That's it. Even though I'm like, man, Canada, you're behind on like so many things. Yeah. America is just smoking you on everything.
5 times bigger.
Yeah. It's bigger, it's better, it's louder, it's faster. It's they have Top Golf. We don't have Top Golf.
I love Top Golf.
Yeah, I love Top Golf.
So that's a must. When we go in Florida, we have to go there.
Have to. Yeah, it's too like just to drive balls, hit them not even well, just as hard as you can.
Yeah.
Whoever gets it's just great.
Yeah.
The whole thing.
With the wings and everything, yeah.
But I think the important thing for you to make this a reality is what I had to figure out, which was and you are working on it because you're identifying what might work for me isn't going to work for you. And I had to realize that the type of YouTube content and the type of content that I give cannot be replicated by somebody else. Like, if you took Adam LZ's model, it's not going to work for you. If you took so-and-so's model and do what they're doing, it's not going to work. I have established that I'm an educator and that I have to stay in this lane. This is my lane. This is
and
I can't deviate from this lane. And I tried the other lanes. I tried like driving and doing super cool things with the car. Nobody cares. It's like 50 other people are doing that, and they're doing it better than you. So like you don't stand out.
Yeah.
Like even drift cars with cool liveries don't stand out. There's so many of them. So you can't stand out that way. You can do reverse entries and it'll be a one-hit wonder, but at the end of the day, that's it.
Yeah.
Educating, I have found for me that it's timeless. If you watch my 2-year-old videos, it's still relevant. So like this is the lane that I've only recently realized and I have to stay here. So I'm not going to go too far off. I'm just going to keep narrowing in the precision on what I am. And right now I went from like I was 50% there. Now I'm like 70. Now I might be around 80% refined to my personality, my being. I'm getting better with the camera. I'm getting better at talking. Doing this podcast is going to make me better at talking. Even if the podcast fails,
you're gonna learn something out of it.
I've made closer relationships with friends and with people that are like-minded, and I'm better at talking, and I think clearly during conversation.
So it's already a win.
It is. It's multiple wins, because if I'm talking with somebody, sometimes you might get a little stressed, or maybe you don't know what to say, and then you get lost, and then you get embarrassed, and
you lose a sponsor right there.
And you're done.
Yeah.
So doing this, it's like I can practice right now, and I can try to ask difficult questions. And if there's an awkward silence, I'll be able to handle that. Whereas some people just fold. If there's like a awkward position in conversation, they can't deal with it. So all of those things are like what I'm testing myself outside of my comfort zone. So I would just encourage you to test yourself way outside. I think you're onto something with trying to win being your focus, because you're capable of winning. Every single thing is your car can hold up. There's not that many things that will prevent you from winning. Maybe some stupid mistakes or missing a shift, but like that might be it.
Yeah, but
right? Which happens too.
Yeah, but the missing shift that happened 2 years ago, the first round in FD at Orlando. But that because it was my first time driving a dog box in my life. I had never driven a dog box in my life, and we had to put it for in the budget, for FD. So I was like, okay, let's put the dog box, man. Big budget out,
Yeah.
In the first race, missing the fourth gear, and I'm like, oh my god.
How did you miss it? I find it so much easier to shift.
Yeah, but it's because like it's so now I can't drive something else than dog box. It's awesome transmission, but it's your first time, you're a little bit stressed, and it's so short. So instead of putting in fourth, I put it in second gear, and and just the time to put it back in fourth. I was with I don't remember, but he was far away. I tried to going back on him. I touch his wheels.
I remember the JZX.
Yeah, exactly.
Rich Whiteman.
Rich Whiteman. Yeah, exactly. So I was like, oh my god. But always learning, and even that was great because I've never done that again.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah. Okay. So that is an hour and whatever. We could keep talking, but we're just going to have a revisit.
Yeah.
I think I'll probably revisit a lot of these guys like yourself back on the podcast, and we'll see what people think, honestly. Like, I'm going to try, and when we post these, how are people going to react? I don't really care, but
give us your feedback.
Yeah, this is for me to, the best thing about doing these is I can use them as reels on my social media.
5 seconds and
So from this podcast that we just did, I'll be able to take probably 5 to 8 short clips of something that was cool that we said, and people are going to respond to that on social media.
Yeah.
And then it gives me more of like a personal look at me rather than I just makes Corvettes and drives and does stuff. And there's nothing relatable to somebody, but when you're talking about like real life experiences and all these other things, people start to look at you more as a person, which I think is really important.
Yeah, that's something important.
Because on social media, I'm just a figure that makes angle kits and builds this Corvette.
Yeah.
But if I can throw these in once a week, there's 4 pillars, I believe, that you have to be doing on your social media. Maybe you can apply this because I do. You have to be inspirational. You have to be promotional. You have to be educational. And then the 4th one.
Funny.
Is it funny? It's not funny.
Yeah.
That's not. We can add it.
I thought it was one of the 4 that you had to choose. Because I know what you're talking about. I was sure that it was you have to be or educational or like emotional, or you see what I mean?
Yeah.
Or funny, stupid.
Yeah. But the pillars that I'm saying.
The 4th, yeah, that's a win.
Yeah. So funny is something that if you get to know me on a personal level, for sure. For sure, I have a very interesting humor, but it's only like, it's really only if you've known me for a long time.
Yeah.
And then you'll start to see that come out. But on professional level, nobody thinks I'm funny. I'm not. That isn't what I'm going to portray. I won't be good at it.
Yeah, that's funny. My girlfriend is like often at the track and she knows you a little bit and she's always like, oh yeah, just the guy that always talk the same, like he comes out of like first position qualification. Oh yeah, that was nice. I think I hit the inner 4.
It's something that I have to work on.
Yeah. Always on the same tone.
I need to change it. So like, you know what else? Listening to myself on these podcasts.
Yeah.
I'm going to try to do more emphasis and more emotion and things like that. So this is something that luckily can be improved.
Yeah, sure.
That's it. Thank you for coming. We actually 3D scanned Tommy's C7 Corvette. We can cut this out if you don't know, if people don't know. Do people know?
Well, people don't know, but so, I'm
Jack, you're going to have to cut that out.
Sorry, Jack. But I mean, like we can say it, but
so Tommy was down for us to do some work on his 2024 car.
New chassis.
Yeah. And it may or may not have anything to do with what I'm driving. So with that said,
we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see Tommy again soon this year. Tommy's doing a lot of events that I'm doing. And thank you guys for listening, watching. Let us know what you guys think of the podcast, because honestly, I'm going to keep doing it, but without interest and without any without any reason to do this, I'm obviously not going to. It takes a lot of time to do this. Editing and doing it, we're hours in. So give us the feedback, let us know, and that's a wrap.
Thank you, man.
Thanks.